So welcome back to Imagine Kentucky Methodism. My name is Jean Hawkshurst, and I'm happy to be with you for this latest edition of Staying United Methodist. And today I get to meet who I've already discovered is a really cool person. Her name is Lois Renfro-Morris, and she grew up in Adair County. She is a mom and an attorney. And Lois, welcome. And why don't you take a minute and tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Well, as you said, I grew up on a farm in Adair County near Columbia, Kentucky. Spent much of my time down at Green River Lake. My dad was actually running the boat dock at that time at Holmes Bend, and so I spent my childhood fishing and going to the lake and even working at the boat dock. Grew up to attend Campbellsville College, now university, where I majored in political science, went to UK to law school, met my husband there and ended up in his hometown of Barbourville, and I've lived in Knox County ever since. My mother and I were Baptist. My father was non-denominational. But after I had moved to Barbourville and we had attended the Baptist church my husband had belonged to for many years, we reached a point we knew we weren't comfortable anymore with what we were seeing and hearing, and we decided to explore other churches. Now, that was a big step for my husband because he was the son of a Baptist preacher, but I said, we need to look at the Methodist church because as a child, although I was Baptist, I spent about as much time at the Methodist church as I did the Baptist church because almost all the other kids were Methodist in my neighborhood. And so I would go to Bible school and I would go to Sunday school and I would go to church services and so on. And I said, I think the Methodist church is actually closer to where we are in our beliefs. So he agreed we would make our first visit there before exploring some other Baptist churches because, of course, being Baptist preacher's son, he was hesitant about switching denominations. We never got any farther. Barbourville First became our home very, very quickly, and I've been there ever since. I lost my husband at 34. I have one beautiful daughter that has been my pride and joy ever since, and is her father's child, if ever there was a child who takes after one parent and not the other. She is a non-traditional student at this point. She went to college at a normal age as a liberal arts major, but decided to go back and follow her dream, and she's now in vet school. And I'm still in Barbourville, Knox County, and I am semi-retired. At the church, I've served on various committees. I've chaired several of them. I have served as lay leader, and I'm currently the lay delegate to annual conference. And I've also been trained as a lay speaker and am currently certified.
Excellent. Wow, you're a busy person. And I read a little bit about what you shared with our mutual friend, John Denham, about what you believe about unity. And I really resonated with it because you kind of connected being bound together in Christ despite differences of belief. And I really appreciated that. And particularly because John Wesley had a belief that opinions are things that we all have, but they don't tear us apart. And it's love that brings us together and holds us together. And it's only when our love starts growing cold for each other that we start to pull apart. So I really resonated with what you said about that. And so I want to ask you, in that kind of context, why do you want to stay United Methodist?
Well, first of all, we have such a rich heritage as a church. I know we are a combination of several denominations over the years, but we trace such a rich history from John Wesley and his teachings. His emphasis on service to those who are most despised by society truly, truly resonate with me and make me want to be a better person, a person who helps others. You might even say it's been something of a career, because I spent most of my professional life as an attorney for a legal services program working with low-income people. And I truly believe that the Methodist Church can best serve the purposes God called us to, that Jesus called us to, by remaining united, by continuing to work and focus on the Great Commission and on making disciples and growing disciples so that we can send them out to make disciples. Petty differences are not what we're supposed to be about. What we're supposed to be about is serving others and spreading the gospel, bringing others to Christ, and showing and demonstrating love. And how are we going to be demonstrating love? By splitting apart. One of the problems we have had in many churches, including the Methodist churches, we're losing people. We're losing people because we're spending too much time focusing on little petty things that we don't have to agree on in order to serve God, in order to make disciples. And we're turning people off. We're turning young people off. We're turning people who don't know Christ off because they focus on the things that we fuss about instead of what we're really here for, which is making people understand and know the love of God. And so I think by remaining united and showing a united front, even with our differences, we further the mission of the church. We further the mission and we bring others to Christ by our example of showing that people of all backgrounds and all different beliefs over other things can unite in God's service.
Right, being about sharing the love of God and being about making disciples of Jesus Christ for the transformation of the world. Right, that's our job. So one more question. If you stay United Methodist, what is your hope and your dream? What is your vision of a continuing United Methodist Church?
First of all, I would hope it would be inclusive. I personally have grown over the years on my attitude toward human sexuality. I was from what I call the don't ask, don't tell generation long before the military did that. I will have read and researched as I have grown in my faith and discovered that there are many, many theologians who believe that the verses, those very, very few verses that refer to homosexuality as being a sin or a, quote, abomination, are really likely aimed at specific abuses of power, abusing children, slaves being abused sexually by their masters, temple prostitution, things that we can all agree and condemn. I believe we need to include everyone. I don't believe we have the right to judge who God calls to his table. When I look at the changes we have made over the centuries in our beliefs, we have to recognize that times and understandings do change within the church. The Bible refers perfectly calmly to slavery, yet who in the United Methodist Church condones slavery? At one time, women were looked down upon and expected to be silent, and yet now we have women ministers, women who are lay speakers, women who serve in leadership positions all throughout the church. Not all denominations agree with that, but the fact remains we have accepted the fact that those few verses about women being silent in the church are not truly conducive to what Jesus was teaching, not truly what Jesus meant. That in fact, women were the first witnesses to the resurrection, that women were his disciples. So I believe that we need to be an inclusive church, but we don't have to be a homogenous church. We can move forward, focusing on what we are called to do, but being welcoming to everyone, not just those we agree with, not just people that we think are like ourselves. And that doesn't mean we don't hold people accountable where it's clearly a sinful choice that someone is making. But when we cannot be sure, when we know nothing about what is in their hearts and what their relationship with God is, then we need to focus on love that Jesus taught. The second greatest commandment is to love our neighbor as ourselves. And that is what we are called to do on behalf of God, to demonstrate his love through our love for others. That is what I want the church to focus on. And I believe we can do that best by showing diversity and welcoming diversity, but people of all ilks being made to feel welcome.
So I'm sitting here wondering, so do you have a call to preach?
I'm a lay speaker, but I don't think I'd have the tolerance for pastoring a church. I don't have the patience.
Well,
God's going to have to work on me big time before I can do that.
Well, wise words from a wise woman, and I appreciate them very much. So, Lois, a pleasure to meet you, and thank you so much for sharing your heart with the conference today. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity.